Hey, it's Joe Amoya, founder and creator of GPSforlove.com. Have you ever been in a relationship where in the beginning, everything was great? There was passion, there was excitement, you were going out to dinner, you were going to the play, the beach, wherever, whatever you were doing, and it was really working, right? You were even making love on the kitchen table, right? It was like boom. But then over time, that excitement disappeared. You didn't go out as much. You barely made love. And that excitement, that passion, instead of focusing on all the things that you liked about that person, you started focusing on all the things you didn't like and how they were annoying or how they didn't pick up after themselves or how they didn't do this, right? And the next thing you know, you started bumping heads. Well, see, I believe that there's a reason for that. And I believe every relationship, one of two things happen. You either grow together or you grow apart. And I believe that people don't have to grow apart. I believe that there are reasons why people grow apart. And so there's reasons why people lose that spark. And so the purpose of today's video is to help you understand why that happens and to help you learn what you can do to ensure that that doesn't happen. So the first thing you need to understand is that there's a reason why you fell in love. There's reasons why you like someone. Now, I'm not talking about relationships where, you meet someone, everything's okay for a little while, and then you realize the guy's an asshole, or he has no integrity, or he's a boy, or he's whatever he is. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about relationships where there's this great connection initially, right? And it's like, I found them. And then you go along and it just becomes stale. That's what I'm talking about. So one of the reasons I believe that happens is because people stop doing what they did in the very beginning of that relationship. They stop going out for dinner. They stop going to movies. They stop going for walks on the beach. They stop making love on the kitchen table. Okay. And as a result, that excitement, that passion, that spark tends to die down. And if you study relationships that are successful and that last, and where the couples continue to grow stronger over time, is that they never stop doing those things. One of the reasons that I believe I have such a strong marriage with my wife, Natalie, is we never stop doing those things. Now, I will say it's a lot more difficult to do that today than it was 16 years ago because we have 3 kids, we have a house, we have a business, we have family members who have health challenges. So it's a lot more challenging. And that's the key word. It's a challenge. But because it's important to both of us, we make sure that we make time to continue to source our relationship. And that's really the way you have to look at it, is you have to think of your relationship as a plant. It's this living, breathing organism, okay? And it needs water, it needs sunshine, it needs air. And if you start taking away those things, then that relationship is ultimately going to die. And, it's such a sad statement that I see of what's really happening is because so many good people who generally love and care for each other just start growing apart. And that's just because they don't realize. And then by the time they realize what has happened, it's very often too late because there's so much animosity that has built up towards each other because they stopped doing what they were doing in the beginning. So it's really important that both people, both individuals in the relationship continue to do that. Now, let's face it, life will throw stuff and makes it really challenging to do that, especially as you get older and you have more responsibilities put on your plate. But that's where you have to get creative. That's where you have to do those things. And that's why sometimes one partner can take the lead, because it's not that the other partner doesn't want to do it. Because if you ask them, they loved how it was in the beginning. But in their world, they have so much responsibility, they have so many other things that are important. And because they believe they already have you, that they very often take you and the relationship for granted. So if you help them to see that they're going to be better off, they're going to be happier as a result of making these changes and going back to how things were in the beginning, then very often it's real easy for them because let's face it, we're all selfish creatures. We all have wants, needs, and desires. And so when our wants, needs, and desires are being met, we're simply a lot happier. It's really no simpler than that. And so you have to get someone to see that their life, their relationship is going to be better. they're going to feel better. Because at the end of the day, that's all we're always searching for, whether it's a new car, a new house, a new relationship, whatever it may be, we're searching because for something because we want to feel better. And that's one of the greatest things about relationships. It's one of the best places to find true joy, because when you have that emotional and physical connection with someone, there's nothing like it in the world. So that's the message for today. So guess what? Here's some mirror time. Okay. Look, if you've been in a relationship that grew stale, maybe it was a marriage that grew stale, I want you to look at it and say, okay, when and where did we stop doing what we did in the beginning? Because you'll see that will help you learn as you go forward. Because remember, it's never a mistake if you learn from it. It's an expensive learning lesson. So if you learn from that and you use that in going forward in your next relationship, or if you're in a relationship right now and things are starting to peter out, that spark's starting to die down, have a conversation. How do we get back there? What do we need to do? A lot of people, they call it date night. If you have to have date night, have date night. I like to be spontaneous, so I like to just say, hey, you know what? We got a babysitter. We're going to go here. You have to find what works for you based on where you are at in your life and your schedule. But I promise you, if you take that mirror time and you learn from the past and you use that going forward, things will get a lot better in the future. So go ahead, take that mirror time. And as